I'd like to call to order the Plan Commission meeting for August 6, 2024 at 6:14 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attendance roll call.
Commissioner Groff. Here. Commissioner Oliver.
Here.
Alderman Kubaki.
Here.
Commissioner Cieslak.
Here.
Commissioner Buckmaster.
Here.
Commissioner Bartlett.
Here.
Mayor Petfalski.
Here.
Planner Trzaskowski.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you. Statement of public notice.
The agenda was posted and distributed to all news media requesting notification in accordance with the open meeting laws on Friday, August 2nd.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes. In front of you, you have the minutes from the May 7th and June 4th meeting.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Consent business, Resolution PC 041-2024, approval of a 4-lot certified survey map for waste management of Wisconsin located on North Janesville Road and east of Crowbar with the listed tax key numbers. Approval of a 1-lot certified survey map for waste management of Wisconsin located north of Janesville Road, east of Crowbar Drive with the listed tax key numbers. Resolution 043-2024, approval of a 1-lot certified survey map for waste management of Wisconsin, Inc., located on north of Janesville Road, east of Crowbar Road with the listed tax key numbers. And that's all of the consent business.
Move to approve and gross.
I'll second.
Any discussion, any of those? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Old business for consideration. Resolution PC 014-2024, approval of an annual review for Fry Auto located at South 106 West 16301 Loomis Drive, tax key number 2293996-002. I think this is on the floor already for continued conversation. Adam, what do we got?
Thank you, Mayor. So this item was back from the spring of this year, April 16th meeting, when this was deferred by the Plan Commission. At that time, the petitioner, Mr. Fry, had some issues with, some of the approvals on his site with where vehicles were stored. At that time, he did mention that he had an off-site location that he was working to wrap up a lease on to move the cars that are located across the street from his main dealership. That was one of the big issues that were present, as well as making sure his existing site stayed in compliance. It was originally stated at that meeting that the vehicles would be moved by the end of July. So that's why he asked that this could then be done at this meeting, because the expectation was that everything would have been removed. We did go out there on July 31st, and there definitely wasn't compliance. While there were car parts that have been removed from the main site, there were still multiple vehicles in drive aisles and vehicles that weren't in their stalls. There was a few spots of the site that were very difficult to even get one lane vehicle through. Per the business owner, none of the vehicles have been moved from the other site yet, even though the deadline was at the end of July. The applicant did provide a signed lease as to where they're taking the vehicles outside the city limits to be stored. They said that their goal now is to move these by the end of August and is therefore requesting Plan Commission to grant that. So our recommendation is just to for the Plan Commission to discuss at what point do you say enough's enough, and where do we go from here, and how do we handle this?
Can I ask Gigi why weren't they moved? Right.
Yes.
Well, I get them at least July 1st. And I've been paying on the new business July 1st. And,
It's August 6th. It's August 6th.
yeah, I know. I haven't done nothing because I've been having staffing issues. So it's 100 cars over there. by myself, it's tough. So I need a little more time to get this done. And then we'll be done. I just haven't had a chance.
It's been going on for months and months, though.
There's a lot of cars over there. So my truck holds 2, and that's 50 trips, which is 2 per. I mean, it's not, it's in Frank, it's in 45 and G, which is not. I still got stuff to do every day. With meetings and stuff. That's why I can do that. If I just need a little more time, I'll have it done. I just, now I'm paying double rent because I'm still paying across the street with all this car. And that's the boy.
Any other comments, questions? Where do you guys want to go with this?
I don't have the confidence that'll be done then. Life goes on, right? Daily life goes on, so you need to make a major adjustment, and I haven't seen one.
I think one question that maybe needs to be asked is, it's, I understand that there's a car's got to be moved across the street, but your main site got worse since the last inspection. It was actually better at the last inspection, and the main site has a lot more going on now than it did then. So it's not just the things that have to be moved, it's more.
We've been busy, and just being short a couple people is really tough, as busy as we are, so.
You need to make this a priority, and I don't know how we can impress that on you, besides probably issuing some citations at some point. And I'm not sure if that's where you guys want to go, or if you want to wait, or what, but.
I think we have to. I think we have to talk citations. It's just not working any other way. It's been way too many months.
You guys did that already.
We did that already. It didn't seem to work.
already last year
Yeah.
for a ticket, so. Unless you guys want to come down and help move cars, that'd be cool.
Don't want to sound crass, but not my problem.
Yep.
I know. It'll be done.
How would citations typically work with this, Adam?
So what would happen here and what happens there are kind of two separate things. So really, until there's a resolution, the citation would be issued, and that would be its own thing. And if it were to come into compliance before the court date, or the judge is usually willing to give some time, then the judge would decide what kind of fine they would levy, depending on how long there was non-compliance. The planning commission still has to approve the annual review, which really that's what's hanging out here, is still their annual review from the spring. But so if they were issued, it would each day they're not in violations, a potential $124 fine. And depending on what the planning commission determines, we typically backdate citations to the first day the violation was determined. So we could either issue the citation the day we issue it, or we can backdate it to April when it was still not in compliance. That would be up to the planning commission. The judge in the end makes the final call, though, what happens with fines or forfeitures.
Excuse me. JJ, I've got a couple questions for you. The new property is located where that you're leasing?
County G and Highway 45 there in the little industrial park.
Okay. How many cars are going to be able to fit in that location?
Oh, at least 100, probably 150.
Okay, so everything you have can be relocated over there.
Oh, yeah.
Have you checked into it? I know you're a one-man show. You're doing everything you possibly can.
Well,
but but there's other services out there. Have you looked into some type of service that could help you move? It's a cost, but it may be a less cost than what they're going to charge you for violations.
Right. No, I haven't done that.
Okay. Might be a good
I like to
suggestion.
do things the way I like to do things, just like we all do, so. And it ain't working,
but we
obviously,
don't.
right? Yeah, right, yeah. No, I guess I could check into that.
So that's one issue. The other one is his existing lot. You need to get that cleaned up, but this whole thing is his annual review is this a conditional use that's there?
It's conditional use for the sale of automobiles and service of automobiles.
So you're playing with a lot more than just fines here. I mean, you lose your conditional use, you lose your ability to work there. So this is serious.
No, I get it.
Because we'd be required to report to the state who does the licensing for the dealerships.
I mean, we're a super busy place. I do $3 million a year. I mean, that probably is minuscule
Spend some
compared
of it
to
on
Pro
moving
or
this stuff
something.
and cleaning up.
But I mean, it's just like we're busy, and
what I do is I guess what I have to do is redo my what's a conditional use grant to encompass what actually has to be done every day by my shop, and that might fix all this, right? I don't know, but I mean, what we do is beyond the conditional use grant, I guess, you know. But
Where do you guys want to go? We'll need some sort of motion. Either defer, motion to move forward with citations, other things.
If we move it on to a citation, can we direct the date which it would begin?
Yeah, way we do citations are first, we do what's called initial appearance, and that's with staff and the city attorney with the applicant. And it just gets them in a room, and there can be settlements made there. If they say we disagree, we set up for a date in front of the judge then. So the first time isn't in front of the judge. We can pick any time we want for that. So if you wanted to give them till September or something as part of that to say, hey, the first time we have a discussion is going to be then, maybe if you're in compliance, we just kind of wipe it out. You know, you can deal, any way you want if everyone works together.
Well,
does that answer your question?
My opinion is that we've been talking about this subject excessively, in that the speed at which we want to see action on it is at a different rate than the action you've taken. So my opinion is that we do need to move it on to some level of citation, and I think you need to, and that will obviously put a financial burden on you, but it also puts a priority on you, that this is as important as the day-to-day business. And I've been there. I know what the day-to-day business is like. You get in and stuff is going by you really fast, but it's obvious this isn't a priority. And I don't think our commission is aiding making that a priority to you. We've been here too often. So something has got to be moved on. And another delay or another resolution isn't going to do it. We need to take it into a financial mode, and I think you'll pay attention to it.
Until there's not enough.
How soon would this go to court?
We could really determine that. Typically, when we issue a citation, we've been doing 2 weeks. We used to do a month.
So my recommendation would be to issue citations dating back to the beginning for teeth. We can have this go to court in September. If he gets it done before then, we can drop or minimize the fines, at least to cover staff time. And I would recommend that the commission puts a warning on him that he has, say, until the next commission meeting to get in compliance, or we're going to go for revocation of your conditional use.
Is that 2 weeks?
What?
Is that 2 weeks or is that 1 month?
No, it's a month.
Yeah.
So the next meeting would be tentatively September 3rd. What we could do is we could bring this back then, issue the citation in the meantime, but not set that initial court appearance till after that plan commission, so that you can weigh in on where you want us to go at that meeting. Is that what I'm hearing?
And we will put on, and for the next plan commission meeting, put on an agenda item of revocation of his conditional use. So if you get it done by then, we can do nothing with it, or they can have discussions of what they want to do.
So would you rather have us have our court thing than before the plan commission date, so that we can?
Two separate issues.
Okay.
So when
I think that's fair, and I think it gives you enough time to do it. And JJ, we're serious about this. It's got to get done.
I get it. No, I do.
So you can walk away
I
with.
just hope you give everybody
You can walk
else
away with minimal cost on this if you get it done and operate going forward. But if you don't get it done, it could be devastating.
Yeah.
Just so I can clarify, as far as that citation date, I don't understand they're separate, but would you rather have us have that initial meeting after plan or before?
What do you guys want?
Does it? Either way, I mean, we're going to check the site whenever, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
I would say before.
maybe let's do it right before, a few days before, kind of thing.
Yeah, so that we can have a report back that says that either we met the conditions or we didn't, so that we can make a decision. Things can move forward.
And then just to clarify that we would backdate it to the date of that April Plan Commission meeting, is that?
Sure, because we can set the fine on wherever we want. Or at least make a recommendation to the court.
Sure.
She tends to listen to lower numbers anyway, so.
Yeah. Is the condition of that resolution to get us back to that original parking count we have in the report?
Yes.
Yeah.
Be fully compliant.
Yep. Yep.
So someone needs to make that motion.
I will make that motion. I won't repeat it, but I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
Any further discussion on that?
But I guess I'd just like to hear the general summary of
Sure.
the
Okay,
motion.
so the motion is to issue citations dated back to the
April Plan Commission date.
April Plan Commission date. The review of the site with staff would happen before our next Plan Commission date. Court date would be after that. So if he gets in compliance for that before Plan Commission, we can minimize the fines. But also, we're going to be putting on the agenda for the next Plan Commission revocation of his conditional use. So by the next Plan Commission, he needs to have it cleaned up, or we will have discussion. If it's in compliance, we kill the motion, vote it down. If not, you can do anything under the sun with it. You can defer it, you can delay it, you can enact it, but it moves this process forward besides saying, okay, we'll give you another month. Understood?
Yes.
All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
September 3rd, right? That's the meeting?
That'll be the next plan. We'll get you, that citation will have an earlier date when we'll all be talking with the attorney.
Oh, I see. All right.
Hey, you got some driving to do.
That was some motion.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. All right, moving on. New business for consideration. Resolution PC 040-2024, recommendation to the Common Council to amend the zoning map and 2020 comprehensive plan for the city of Muskego for 2 vacant lots for Darrell Borchard of the Oak Ridge Glen subdivision located along Hackberry Hill Court, tax key number 2172068 and 2172069.
Move to approve.
No second.
Discussion, Adam?
Thank you, Mayor. As is noted, this is a rezoning and land use approval, rezoning from RM2 multifamily to RS2 single family, and a land use amendment for the future land use plan from high density residential to medium density. As some of you may know just from history, and those that don't, this was part of the Oak Ridge Glen subdivision, which was a predominantly single-family subdivision. There was this eastern spur, as you see in the map, that was set up for basically multifamily lots. It's pretty much 2-family lots based on lot size. Technically, there's 2 lots. One of the ones in question that could allow 3 or 4 family units, just based upon sheer lot size, unit counts based on lot size. And that was always proposed as like a buffer or transition zone between the single family to the west, then having this buffer, and then the Bossy family farm, which is to the east, which has future land use plans as being heavier use commercial, business park type uses, potentially. So we always, try to do transition zoning. It was something that the original developer obviously was part of and understood and was okay with. But at this time, the current developer, who is the original developer's son, who's kind of overseeing the development, he is looking at rezoning 2 of those multifamily properties to single family. He has buyers that are interested that want single family and don't want multifamily. So he's basically just kind of looking at bumping that RS2 zoning over a little bit to the east. The 2 properties in question do not directly touch the adjacent commercial zoning, even though there isn't any commercial uses there now. So all the properties that would stay the multifamily are still, buffering that area per se. So the request is just for the 2 lots that are highlighted on the map right now at the tax keys provided, At the public hearing for this, at the last Common Council meeting, we had one person speak on this item. They were in favor of the rezoning. They live somewhere else in the neighborhood and thought this would be a nice addition and would actually rather see the single family than multifamily. So they were recommending approval. And none of the other multifamily lots have been built upon yet, just the single family.
Is the petitioner here that want to add anything or? No? Are you the petitioner? Or is there anything you want to add to this? You don't have to, it's just asking if you want to. Is there anything you want to add to what Adam said? All right. Any questions or comments from the commission? Come on, Commissioner Buckmaster. It's not like you didn't work on this initially.
I recall when we did this back, what, 2002 or
Yeah,
three?
three.
And I think the idea was good at the time and the whole transition stuff that Adam said, but.
Is your microphone on?
Yeah, I remember going through this, the whole Moreland corridor item back in the early 2000s. And at the time, and even when we did the comprehensive plan, it made sense. But looking at how Muskego has grown in the area here, I have no objection to this.
And the buffer still exists.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this, I mean, knowing what we know now, we didn't know back then, right? As the development came, the sewer came. So looking at this, this would not concern me.
I can't force you to do anything as a developer, but I would encourage you strongly to, whoever you sell these lots to, as you sell them, to let them know of the forthcoming, nothing's been set yet, but the development that's going to be going on to the east of these properties is going to be commercial. Looks like a farm field now. People sometimes buy things and think it's going to stay a farm field forever. This one will not. So just do what you want with that information, but it might save a lot of headaches in the future if they're well aware of what's going to be developed behind them. So, anything else? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Resolution PC 044, 2024, approval of a building site and operation plan amendment for Smoke Ring Barbecue located at Fleet Farm West 195 South 6460 Racine Avenue, tax key number 2177.996.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion, Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. As site approvals work for commercial properties, when a property like Fleet Farm or any other commercial property for that matter, when they want to have any kind of outdoor display, outdoor sales, outdoor vendors, and basically anything outdoor that's more than a single event, they basically need to amend their site approval. Approvals just inherently aren't allowed to have stuff all over the parking lot. That's why they come to the Plan Commission and request it. So if they're doing a one-time event, I'll use an example. I think they recently did like a children's fishing event. That doesn't need specific Plan Commission approval because it's a one-time event. They might bring in food trucks, they might whatever. That doesn't need anything special because it's just a one-time, one day, not overnight. In this scenario though, we have someone that says, hey, I want to be selling here weekly, which is something that can be asked for. So they have a spot designated on the site plan that they're going to be parking in. And one time a week on Wednesdays, they want to set up here from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. to be able to sell their food. The store has provided proof that they're okay with this. So it's something the store is definitely in favor of or doesn't have an issue with, however you want to word it. But they have provided notation they're approving it. And they've basically noted that the request would be they want to operate this through the end of November of 2024. So this approval would be just for this calendar year. So then when that ceases at the end of November, if they or any other vendor would want to sell here now or in the future, they have to do the same approval process. So this would just be for this one vendor on those specific dates to that sunset. And staff doesn't have an issue with this necessarily as long as the Plan Commission's okay with it. I think because it's just one request. I think that might change a little bit if someone wants to sell there every day of the week and now you have 7 different vendors, 7 different days. Is that the image you want? I don't know that, but this is just one vendor for one day out of the week. And this, one quick thing, this has kind of stirred some discussion with the store because I think the store wasn't aware that these people needed approvals. So it's kind of, we've actually had some good conversations with the store staff to know, so they kind of know what the do's and don'ts are.
It seems to be located in a fairly innocuous area away from everything, so that's fine.
One of the things to consider, and it's always been one of my pauses on food trucks, is the community likes the variety of having different food choices, but they do compete directly with our brick and mortar restaurants. who, as being Muskego being what we are, of mainly a bedroom community with not much of a lunch crowd, restaurants, it's rough to be a restaurant in Muskego because you get one good meal a day out of customers. And I'm not saying no to this one myself, but I'm glad it's only good for this year and for these limited dates because I'd like to see how that goes and hear more from going on. I don't want to get into a scenario where we have food trucks all over and then our brick and mortar restaurants that people that have put in millions of dollars of investment into our community and pay property taxes, which, this particular vendor won't be doing, is competing directly with, Chuck and a truck. So just a thought. Like I said, I don't have a problem with this particular one right now. We'll see how it goes. Type of thing. So. Any other comments?
Yeah, I would agree. I think we need to limit that, like you were saying, just for exactly what we were saying, that we want to support the community. And, if we have too many of them, it takes away business from other Muskego restaurants. So I think that's important.
And I try to balance that with it being being open market capitalists at the same time. But, we do have to that's why we do zoning. So. All right. Any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Resolution PC 045-2024, approval of a building site and operation plan amendment for the local located at West 191 South 6409 Hillendale Drive, tax key number 2177944.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. So this request is for the local bar and restaurant up on the north end of Hillendale Drive. As I'm sure a lot of you have heard in the past, there's been a lot of discussions and past conversations at other boards and committees relating to parking. It's a good problem to have, I guess, is not having enough parking when you have a great successful business. But obviously, when you have an older building like this that's set within an existing neighborhood, parking obviously can be challenging. So a while ago, the owners of the business did talk with city staff and the mayor, and we were kind of figuring out some plans. And they did kind of talk about some proposed ideas for doing some parking expansions in the back of the property. They had some underutilized space, so they kind of were talking to us about doing some parking. Long story short, I think they got a little ahead of themselves and kind of put some parking in without coming to us. No big deal, right? They're coming here now. That's what matters. So we're basically looking for approval for this recent parking expansion. They basically repaved the bulk of the lot and then did an expansion to the rear. So that's kind of part one of it is the idea of parking expansion. And then the other idea of it relates to a garbage enclosure. That's one thing that the site didn't have that we typically look for any new sites to make sure they do have, is that your dumpsters are enclosed in an enclosure per general design guides, just to help keep the aesthetics, especially with this being surrounded by homes. So like I said, as part of the request, there is in your site plan, in your packet, a site plan of how they ended up paving the sites and how they ended up marking. It also shows you where the dumpster enclosure area is proposed to go in the back corner there. As far as the parking lot goes, 19 parking stalls are what they're able to get out of it. So they were able to get some boost to parking, which I think is helpful for the neighborhood and the business alike. They do show on the plan that their drive aisle does meet our minimum width requirement, and the resolution is written to ensure that. One of the questions that comes up with parking is curb and gutter. As you know, we've had that discussion in other businesses throughout this year and the last few years, that typically when a business, commercial property or industrial, institutional, is doing any kind of redoing full parking lots, not just seal coating, but like redoing parking lots or expanding, is typically the question of, do we require curb and gutter? It's been aesthetic the city is pretty consistently looked for. We especially focus it on in our more denser areas, like on Janesville Road. Obviously, it comes up more often. When we get to businesses that are like this, that are maybe a little bit of outside of that specific commercial corridor, the Plan Commission, always has discretion, but maybe even a little extra discretion. We require curb and gutter, typically are recommended for a couple reasons, aesthetics being the biggest one. It just looks nice and clean. It keeps cars where they should be. It helps people preventing rutting properties, and it also can very much help with stormwater management, especially on tight sites. So with that being the case, there aren't any businesses touching this site, so I can't tell you what the other businesses in the neighborhood have, because there aren't any, right? This is a unique one. The school that is a few houses down the road does have curb and gutter on the bulk of their property, because once again, that was one of those design requirements up front. As far as the parking goes right now, because the typical requirement of staff is to ask applicants to include curb and gutter, as that's been kind of past guidance, we do have the resolution currently recommending the installation of curb and gutter on the exterior of the property with install date of tentatively by October 31st of 2024. So that's how the resolution is currently written. If the Plan Commission discusses and feels that that's not necessary, then we can amend the resolution accordingly. The other item then is the garbage enclosure. The garbage enclosure that they're showing is going to be a solid fenced enclosure to enclose the dumpsters. We don't have any concerns with this. We just want to be sure that once a final design is determined, because right now it's kind of preliminary, that they provide, do a zoning permit, which is how we formally approve those, to make sure it's four-sided, solid on all sides, including the gate, and then, painted or something that kind of complements or matches the building, or a natural wood tone. And the same date of October 1st is stated as when that should be, September 1st for the permit and October 1st for installing the dumpster enclosure. Now, if there's some reason that someone can't get out there, we can always work with them. So the main thing that staff or Plan Commission should discuss here is really the requirement of curb and gutter or not, or if they're okay with it as it sits right now. The applicants have mentioned that they have some of the spots have curb stops right now. They are planning on installing curb stops on the rest of the site. So if the Plan Commission were to say no to the curbing, we maybe want to add in the requirement that curb stops are on all the site, because that's normally our suggestion if you don't have curb and gutter.
Are you aware of any surface water issues with the surrounding properties?
Not that we've been made aware of.
Okay.
Comments?
Yeah, I guess that's what I was going to ask too. Is there any, typically with the new parking lot, you're looking at sloping it different ways to keep away from the property lines from water going into other properties, but there's nothing like that in this site right now.
Yeah, and the bulk of the site was paved before. I'm pretty sure that was kind of left how it was, and we never had historical issues out there that I was ever made aware of.
Was the lot in existence, or was this new asphalt that was poured?
The bulk of the lot was paved already, probably 70-80% of it. Yeah, in fact, the mayor's photo, the aerial photography in your packet, that shows you what was there previously.
Other than the school, is there any curb and gutter along Hillendale?
No, we don't typically do it. That road doesn't have it, and there's no other businesses around there that would have it.
Unless there's some issue with stormwater runoff, I don't know that I see the necessity for curb. I think the stops are a necessity, since although I'm not quite sure, I haven't seen the new lot, because a lot of times it's so full I don't want to go. But anyway, I think stops are valid and worthy in this case, but I'm willing to relieve the requirement on curb.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second.
Discussion on the motion to amend?
What I would say is that we have the wheel stops permanently attached instead of just loose, so that they're always going to be there.
Sure, yep.
I agree with that.
Unless for plowing, they have to move them.
Is the maker okay with that?
I'm okay with
Is
that.
the second okay with that?
Yeah.
I am.
Any further discussion on the motion to amend? All those in favor of the motion to amend, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any further discussion on the motion as amended? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Resolution PC 047, 2024, PC 046, 2024, approval of a metal accessory structure for John and Cleva Lewis located at West 216 South 10753 Crowbar Drive, tax key number 2283999013.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is for a metal accessory structure. As you know, the code kind of by default talks about all buildings matching colors and materials as the home. But in certain conditions, the Plan Commission is welcome and can and has granted waivers to do like a pole building. We typically work with the applicants that if they are going to make such requests to try to have something that aesthetically still looks pleasing, you know, kind of give it a little bit of character and I'll make it look like it belongs in the back of an industrial park, which most applicants are pretty good about. Things that the Plan Commission usually is more willing to grant waivers for are larger lots, ag uses in the general area, not super visible, maybe because of existing screening, vegetation, things like that. So in this scenario, they are proposing steel siding, steel roofing, pole building. It is well within the size allowance, so there's no size concerns with what's proposed. They are proposing colors that complement the home. They are also having some decorative features like different color trim, wainscoting, cupola. They're doing a little kind of covered porch area on the side, if you want to call it that, covered area, overhang area. They have some service doors. So they're definitely doing some features, some windows that give it more of that residential character, which is, I think, something the Plan Commission has historically been more in favor of. The building is located behind the home. I think it's over 175 feet from the front property line, so it's definitely set farther back, kind of in an area that is fairly wooded, so it's kind of tucked into a wooded area. Even though you will see the front, it's more decorative than some others. And they're just looking at using it for personal storage. You know, we have the resolution noting that they can't use it for any kind of commercial purposes and so on, but staff does recommend approval if the Plan Commission feel it meets their typical waiver requirements.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Resolution PC 047, 2024, approval of a building site and operation plan amendment for St. Leonard's Parish located at West 173, South 7743, Westwood Drive, tax key numbers 2196945.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. So as is noted, St. Leonard's Church is applying for a waiver through a BSO amendment due to some replacement HVAC equipment that they required that they need to replace on their roof. As the Plan Commission is aware, and as is in our general design guides, the city looks to always encourage and require screening around HVAC devices. It's probably one item that the Plan Commission thinks has been pretty uniformly looked at. It's something that's always applied to new businesses, but it's something that we have been making sure existing businesses do when they're replacing units. We've dealt with a handful of properties lately that are replacing equipment. And when we have that ability to replace it, it gives us that chance to say, let's keep it to the standards we hold all other new equipment to. So what was being requested here, though, is because they're replacing these two units, you'll see from the photos in the packet, there are certain views that they are partially visible from. There are certain views that we believe they definitely aren't visible from, and would agree it's not something that has to be screened on all sides. But based upon staff's site visits, basically screening, which would be kind of the north and east views, and the diagram in the map kind of shows you, or in the supplement, there's a diagram that kind of shows you the predominant views. Staff was then recommending screening would be the north and east sides. Now, whether they do a screening that hangs off the unit, whether they do freestanding screening, it would really be up to the applicant and their design team. But the design guide definitely does talk about any kind of mechanical equipment on ground or roof being screened from public view. Now, we definitely, like I said, don't feel it has to be screened on all four sides, though. Given the existing vegetation, there's a lot of vegetation to the south and the west that don't make it necessary to screen the other sides. So the resolution is currently listed and proposed as screening the north and kind of east sides and granting a waiver to the screening requirements on the south and the west. And I think the applicant's here if they want to speak more about it.
First of all, thank you very much for your time today.
Could you just state your name and address?
Okay, my name is Ward Komorowski, and I'm on the Building and Grounds Committee for St. Leonard's Parish.
And I'm Karen Tenfel. I'm the Director of Administrative Services for the parish and the school.
And so we're actually here to ask that no screening is required. Now, I understand what was read and what was said, but what you don't see or realize is that the views that they talk of off of St. Leonard's Drive is between the houses. And there's lots of trees there 6 months of the year. And I have pictures of it. I went there the other day and took pictures of it. And I can share with you the pictures that are taken. You can see it right there. And when you zoom in, okay, that's what you see, okay? Now, where this picture was taken is 0.19 miles away. The rooftops are set way back on the property. Even if you put mechanical screening around it, you won't be able to tell it's screening versus the air handling unit, okay? In addition, on the west, looking down the street here, Westwood, okay, the rooftop units are only visible for 17 degrees out of a 180-degree view as you drive by, okay? Because what ends up happening is the newer units are lower and they're on the roof, okay? If you look up in the corner up there, the parapet extends out to the northeast right there. And you can't see the units from this point here, if I may walk up.
Sure.
Okay. Here's where you see it, from point A to point B, okay? All here, you don't see it over here because of the parapets, okay? In addition, I surveyed and petitioned the majority of the neighbors across the street, and they signed and they said they don't care. They don't mind it, okay? So the setback is huge. It isn't like it's sitting right here on Racine Avenue, because I see the ones along here in the industrial park, okay, that are big and not very good looking. Now, I'm an architectural engineer by trade, and I think some rooftop units are pretty sexy in my eyes. But anyway, so I will share with you that I brought my transite out there last week and I measured. And I measured it off the unit and I shot from Westwood Court where you can see it. And there is 18 inches, that much of the rooftop is visible over the parapet. The unit is 54 inches tall. Okay? So we're just saying we raised the funds, we didn't account for this screening. We got prices on the screening. The screening was $31,000. That's well over a third of what it costs to replace them. And we're asking for an allowance not to do it.
All right. Thank you.
Question. So when we do screening, what's the purpose of the screening? To
Aesthetics.
I mean, is it to screen from the view, right? You're trying to block the view of the mechanicals on the roof, right? So is there a concern that there are trees there? Well, what if the trees are gone? What if the people sell their homes? Maybe the new homeowners or the previous homeowners aren't going to like it.
But they're also buying a home with an existing condition.
But the point is to screen it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's not to, right? So I guess that's what I struggle with, is what's the purpose of screening it outside of the cost? Our choice is not based on the cost, right? I mean, so I just struggle with that. What if the trees fall down?
Well, does it make a sound and no one's there? No, but glad Jeremy caught that. You're right. The reason we put screening there is typically aesthetics. And, getting the neighbors to sign off on it, if it were Janesville Road or a main thoroughfare, would be one thing. This isn't, St. Leonard's is buried back in a subdivision. I think that has merit of where, in this particular case, of where it's located and the fact that you did get the people to sign off on it. And if you're buying a house based on what you know. Well, if they sell the house, you're going to buy that house knowing that that's there. It's not changing it. So the people that are there now, are saying it's okay. It's not a main thoroughfare, so and I would probably argue that besides residents, probably 85% of the people that drive down that road are parishioners. So it's their church. I think there's room here to get off the screening. This is different than most, I guess is what I'm
I
getting
guess
at.
I initially thought that partial screening was a pretty good.
And it could be. I'm
thought that was
I'm arguing,
good, but
giving room if you want, but
yeah.
Is the cost you have right now figuring all screening around the units, or is it just for half?
The cost was for all the screening around, but it isn't like you can take it and cut it in half. Okay, because it still needs to be attached to the structure.
Sure.
Okay, and because it isn't something that should be, in my eyes, as being a PE, I wouldn't have it freestanding so the wind can take it off. It's got to be able to be anchored and structurally supported. So again, those were our concerns, plus the maintenance of it. We had to make it so that to minimize the screen, we got to make it close, but then we have to have removable panels so we can work on it.
Sure. I guess the thing that I would say is, the ordinance is there for all, right? It's any new building that's being built or if the rooftop unit is redone, we have to do that. That's part of the ordinance. So, the fact that you don't have to go around the whole thing, I think is a good compromise in my mind. And the two parts that are screened, I think is, given that it's kind of tucked back in the neighborhood, I think is a good compromise to putting a screen around the whole thing. I just, are we fearful of sending a precedence that you don't have to do a screen around your whole rooftop unit? Is that a concern to the Plan Commission at all, or anybody?
There's definitely been a history with only screening from applicable views. Like I think of an industrial property where we went through very involved efforts to say, what sides we need to screen from, which ones don't we,
right,
depending on where you can see it from.
Yeah.
But screening's been a standard issue.
It is. It's pretty typical, and a lot of communities have the same ordinance that you have to screen that stuff from. And it's part of being a building owner. It's part of having a building. It's just something that's an inquired cost.
But excuse me, it's also a new resolution, right? I mean, this is an existing building that was built 20 years ago, and this is part of maintenance. It isn't like we're putting a brand new unit, and oh, by the way, the footprint is a lot smaller, okay? Hence the height. And the setback is 0.19 miles from St. Leonard's, or 0.15 miles from the first entrance at St. Leonard's off of Westwood, and then 0.11 miles back. This isn't like it's right on a major thoroughfare. So
I think the compromise is fair. I do.
Excuse me, is it screened now, Ward?
no,
Could I ask one other question about this? I'd noticed in the resolution, there was a note that a permit was required, and that during that time, it was noted that screening would be required.
That's how we became aware that they were replacing it, was via the permit that came in, and that's when we reached out to them to tell them they would need to screen it.
So they knew prior to installing the units that the
I
screening-
assume it's not installed yet, because they don't think the permit's been issued, has it been, Aaron? So I assume it's not installed yet.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was the case. Thank you.
Part of the screening that I've been concerned with is the aesthetics, because this is a silver unit, I assume?
it's a dark tan unit.
Dark tan, okay. Aesthetically, on the rest of the building, we tried to, the previous one we just looked at with the shed, we're trying to make it aesthetically pleasing with the home and doing those types of things. Is there anything that can be done other than screening to make a color choice difference so it blends in, so it doesn't look like an air conditioning unit?
You could paint it.
That was my point. Because I've seen transfer stations painted with foliage. Looks, you don't even,
Right.
you drive by and it's like, wow, that's really classy. So I guess that's the thing I have.
We had, I think it was, Mayor, maybe you know, I don't know if it was when Wendy's took over or maybe it was the previous user there, but there was a question there about not wanting to screen a unit. And this may have been new construction, so it might not be exactly, but they wanted to wrap it. Yeah, maybe they wanted to wrap it in a vinyl graphic,
That was new
and
construction,
that was not looked at favorably back then. It just, yeah, I think it was new construction. That was their solution. They wanted to wrap it, and Plan Commission said, no, you're screening.
Adam, who was this? I didn't.
I think it was when Burger King was
It might
built.
have been the Burger, where Wendy's is now and Burger King
Because
first came
it's,
in.
like, I'm not saying it's apples to apples, I'm just talking about the idea of
different
wrapping it or painting it.
I have one other follow-up question to my previous. So the photos we're looking at now are of the existing unit, and what did we say the height difference would be between the new units and the existing unit?
It's lower.
How much?
I want to say it's 8 inches lower. Just to give you an idea, the approach.
Yes.
Okay. This is the view of the rooftop unit,
The existing one.
the existing. So there it is when you zoom in tenfold. There's the unit. This is what the people see driving down the road.
Is the new unit up?
Pardon?
Is the new unit up there?
Yes.
So is that the existing or the?
I guess that's news to me, because they don't have a permit yet.
I know, but we also have school and we have to get the thing set before school starts. And the permit has been applied for, it's just not approved because of this meeting.
So I guess I'm not sure with our pictures, if they're before or afters then, because I didn't know the new one was up.
When was the?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at, this was taken the last day of July, So I'm assuming that's the new one if it was
That's
end
the
of
new
July.
one, correct.
And I mean, this is in your packets, yeah. It's.
So that's the new
Yeah,
one.
but that's a zoomed in picture.
Oh,
This
sure.
is- This is what it looks like from the road. Okay, and if that's your concern is from the road and the passerbyers, you really have to look and see.
Are there any options for, instead of doing a roof-mounted one, to do a unit-mounted one? Does that save money, I guess?
I think that's what this quote is for. It's for a unit mounted, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
Well, he was talking about that you have to provide structure in the roof to hold that back.
Very familiar with the property.
Yeah, it says on here, unit attached systems.
Ah,
Can you
okay.
scroll this up, or up a bit?
Here.
There, excuse me, there. Thank you.
And that view is between two houses on St. Leonard's, between the houses, and then once you get to the house, the roof of the house blocks it.
We're not questioning that, yeah, but I also look at it as if I'm in this person's backyard, I'm probably seeing something similar. So it's, our test has never been just roadways. Our test has been any surrounding properties or roadways.
And all three of those properties signed off that they didn't care.
Yeah, and it is, what he's mentioning that is in your packet if you want to take a look.
Right, and I saw that. I guess, I appreciate that, but that doesn't carry much weight for me at least in this argument.
Since I'm a member of St. Leonard's, I'm going to recuse myself for it.
Well, if you
for
do
making
that,
a
no one
point.
can vote on it, so.
Well,
you-
okay, with that in mind, guys, if.
Same
if
here
we-
too, so-
If we painted that comparable to the brick, would you know that's a screen or would you know that's the air conditioner? And I'm talking about naked eye view, not just a zoomed in version of that. Because I question artistically whether that screening is going to look better than that if it was painted tan or reddish tan.
I understand the precedence of this and I understand the compromise that's been offered, but I do agree with Commissioner Groff on this. That I don't, the effect we're looking for, I don't think it's going to be there.
If it were 50 feet below grade, I'm all in. At that distance, I think we're making a substantial mountain out of this. And yet I think I think the paint is a reasonable compromise.
I think if you painted it, given that ATC has their lines right behind there in that trail, you're not gonna block that. And two of the photos show the transmission posts and the insulators. You're not gonna block that. I would be okay with painting it in this case.
I'd like to make a motion to, and let's see, help me on this one. Do we need to make a motion just to have it painted comparable to the side of the building?
I don't know.
How do we do this?
However,
How do we do this?
Just at this point.
You could do it, what would we, didn't we do this like in, with Bill Curity or something? We just had him do it, like Transformer Gray or something, the existing building or.
I would think you'd want to complement the wall color, I would
But it
think.
was solid color though. I
Yeah,
mean, we did
correct.
say that it had to be a solid color equivalent to some other landscape feature there or some other building component.
Why don't,
I don't know if I'd make it the trim color. What is there a metal?
There's a metal,
like a
that's what
fascia
I was
on
gonna
that?
recommend. I would recommend the dark brown
That's
that
what I was-
matches the roof metals on the roof.
That's what I was just going to recommend.
Fine.
That works for me.
Yeah.
Just so I'm clear, what, the top trim?
I would say to try to match the brick color as much as we can. I think
Yeah, the brick
make
color's
it-
more dominant than a trim color.
Yeah, exactly. The trim color would make it look really dark and it would really stand out more than it does now. So I would say we find something to match the brick color more predominantly, in my opinion.
Okay.
I still need a second on this if we're gonna do it.
I'll second it.
And your motion is to, which color are we matching?
The body of the building.
Yes.
Second's okay.
Now, maybe Ward, is it all right if I ask the applicant? I've been told by HVC contractors before, these can't be painted. Are we sure it can be painted? Been told they cannot be.
I ran facilities for 39 years for Johnson Controls.
Okay,
They can be painted.
okay.
For any discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to amend, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay, hey.
Right, so
Thank you.
5-1. Wait, that's just a motion to amend. Any further discussion on the motion as amended? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay, all right, so
Thank you.
consented. Thank you. Resolution PC 048, 2024, approval of a building site and operation amendment for the Muskego Norway School District located at West 183, South 8750 Racine Avenue, tax key number 2242999.
I move to approve.
Second.
All right. Ross, Buckmaster. Adam,
Thank you, Mayor.
what do we got here?
So this is a project for the kind of two-part Muskego High School as well as the district office that's located just down the street from the school. That was kind of all part of the large renovation projects that are going on right now at that complex. As you recall, we approved obviously those plans a while ago. As if you've been out there, you've seen that these buildings are looking great and things are coming along real nice out there. You know, a lot of it's already done and they're working on wrapping up a lot of the other parts. But one of the issues that came up that we became aware of was that originally when the district office, which is, like I said, located just kind of behind here, they had to relocate some maintenance facilities. And as part of that, they did an addition just to the south side of that existing district office building for the maintenance. And at that time, the original approval resolution said the addition on the south side of the existing building, and it's proposed to be 100% masonry, being an identical match to the masonry on the building. So that's what we were advised originally. We then are involved in the inspection process to make sure that buildings aesthetically match the plans we approve. And it came to our attention, as you'll see in the photos, that while there's some colors that match, there are definitely some colors and textures and materials that don't match. Yet the plans we approved at Plan Commission and at the building permit time definitely talk about there being an exact match. And that's been something I think the Plan Commission's been pretty diligent on making sure there's exact matches. I don't know what a solution is now, and having some people in that profession on this board might be helpful, but you'll see the darker banding is a pretty good match, but when it comes to the upper and lower portion colors, the existing building had more of a kind of spotty mix of colors, where the new building's a more solid color. Now, the applicant did provide detailing in the packet as to kind of why this happened, and I guess part of it was that the original brick manufacturer is no longer in business, or the quarry, excuse me, I think that it was quarried from, is no longer used, and working with some different vendors, all the vendors kind of said there wasn't an exact match. So they kind of the design team decided to pick a color, I guess without running it by the city, and built it. So like, we weren't aware of the issue till after it was completed. So I mean, the applicants are here, and I'm sure they can discuss that further with you, but we kind of brought up the question of how did it happen, and that's where we kind of got the explanation as to just some choices were made and run with, and like I said, weren't really vetted through us. So that's kind of topic one. The other topic would be behind the south side of the school, where the large indoor field house is located. The original plans that were proposed for that area showed the bulk of that parking lot being renovated, removed, repaved, but there was a small inside section that was noted as not being repaved or anything like that. And as part of the new parking layout, there were 3 landscape islands that fell in that area. And as you know, talking about curbing, typically curbing is required on landscape islands, excuse me, especially on this site, because all the new stuff is curbed. But as part of this, they didn't have to curb those areas because they weren't going to touch it. Same thing with some light pole bases that were allowed to remain taller. And then upon our inspection, we found out that they had, money that was in the budget to repave it, and they didn't want to have seams in the pavement, which is understandable, so they ended up repaving it all. They didn't actually repave it all, they just kind of milled the old stuff over and did a layer on top of it, so it's not quite a full replacement, but still more than just like a seal coat. So the portion that's being asked for here for a waiver is to be allowed to keep those 3 islands just as striped and not curbed, and the light poles as they are requested. So Plan Commission can discuss the 2 items and kind of see how they want to proceed with it. As far as the 2 items go, I guess I don't know what we do with the brick, but I'm open to ideas. And as far as the parking goes, that's probably a little bit less of a concern. The islands, because the perimeter of the lot is curbed, which is our bigger concern. 3 islands in the middle probably aren't the worst thing, especially since it wasn't a full removal. So staff can Plan Commission can discuss that.
Commissioners.
Well, someone had to be aware that there was an issue here. And I guess the concern I have is why are we waiting till the building is completely built to see a major change like this?
So if we can discuss a major change, to me would be a different
just
product.
Tell us who you are.
Sure, yeah, sorry. Chris Hager, Bray Architects for the district. A major change to me would be a different type of material, not brick, right? So we had mentioned that we would match this building, and we had all intentions of doing that. We had several brick manufacturers come out, and they had nothing even close. The uniqueness of that brick that's there was impossible to match. So, we could have then chosen another brick that was closer match, but it never would have matched, and it would have been a blend that looked bad, right? So we decided to pick a brick that was complementary, not only to this building, but to the campus, which does have this brick on it right now. So, we should have come back in front of you all. That was a mistake that I made, but we thought it was a good brick choice. I wouldn't have made a different choice if I had done that. That would have been the brick that I would have brought in front of this group. So as far as the other masonry, that is an exact match, the band, and you can see that it doesn't look the same even as an exact match. That building has been patinaing for 35 years. So there's really no way to actually match that even though that's the exact same brick. As far as the precast piece goes, that is really a bad detail. If you understand detailing in architecture, concrete expands and contracts differently than a masonry product like brick. So we would not typically detail that in this day and age. And so we did not want to continue a detail that really doesn't work well architecturally. So as far as the brick goes, if you guys have questions, I can answer further, but that was something that we couldn't match. It would have never looked the same. So we decided to pick one brick color rather than doing a mix that didn't match.
Not to prolong this, but you shared that information with Jeremiah? Why wouldn't you share it with the city? I guess I don't understand why you'd do that.
Like I said, I made a mistake. I should have. I haven't always needed to do that during construction. We were following, that we were using brick. There was no match, so there was nothing that we could have matched. But yes, I should have brought it in front of staff when that came up. And, we've talked, Adam and I have talked since then, and we know that that's something that we need to do in the future for sure. Unfortunately, this building was up extremely quickly. It was one of the first buildings that was built. So, we understand our mistake.
So you mentioned regarding the detail that you chose not to do that. That was not a structural factor. It was just, that's not the design that you think is aesthetically pleasing for the detail.
Are you talking about the concrete?
Correct.
No, that is a detail that I would not do as an architect because it expands and contracts differently than the brick does. Brick is not a concrete product, so we would have had to use another concrete brick then. But that is going to expand and contract in that same plane differently than everything else. So it creates cracking, which then they have to maintain over time. So it's not a detail that we would do architecturally.
But that wasn't brought up during the planning stage that you were not going to plan on doing that, correct?
I would say too that, asking for forgiveness is usually asking for permission, seems to be the theme of the night. But I would say at least I get the difference between concrete and brick. That's very true. Concrete expands, brick shrinks, so you have some issues there. What I am missing from this is that shadow line that's created by the existing trim that we could have, had we talked to someone, kind of pulled that out a little bit. You can pull brick out a little bit to give that little shadow line. That would kind of help to match that detail a little bit better. As far as the brick goes, it seems like the brick that's in the building, and I actually rode past it today, dropped my son at the high school. It's such a monocolor brick. I know there's variations that we could have gotten to match that better. I mean, this is definitely not a blended brick. It's a solid color brick. I think we could have mixed a couple different things. A lot of brickyards will help you with that. I'm very surprised it just didn't kind of go that way. So, but I mean, it is what it is. It's hard to, aside from ripping it all down and doing it over again, there's nothing we really can do. So, but I think trying to pull that brick out for that trim piece would have helped match that a little bit better. So.
Do we have any options here?
I don't, aside from tell them to rip it down.
The resolution is written to
Yeah.
basically remove that old requirement and said it had to match. I don't know what else we do here. I think the biggest thing with this is hopefully it's a learning experience more than anything, right? That any changes. I think the school's been great. Since this has come up, there's been a few questions they've asked us. So I think already it's been a learning experience. It's just...
I just look at this as, this could have been detrimental to your client. Really expensive, which is all of us.
Right.
I'm disappointed. I've worked with Ray a lot, and this isn't the work this community typically gets from them. So I'm not happy about it, but.
I would agree. We've got two former board presidents here. This does not make me happy at all for Bray. I would have expected a hell of a lot more. Having been through this referendum, approved everything, signed it, sent it to the voters, this entire mess just doesn't make me happy at all. So I appreciate you humbling yourself here, but yeah, this was a huge project, and that's why we chose Bray.
I understand.
So the way the resolution is written right now, it basically says, be it further resolved that Plan Commission waives that original statement requiring it to be an exact match. So technically makes it okay. And I think it's good that we clean it up however we do it, so the next person doesn't say they have a reason to not match. And then as far as the parking goes, the resolution talks about waiving the interior curbing requirements and allowing the light pole bases to stay at the height they're at. That's how it's proposed right now.
And parking doesn't bother me as much. Actually, I think you can argue that's maintenance. I mean, grind it down and put it back up and put another top coat on it. And I'm guessing this was actually, you did the parking lot because you had extra funds, correct? And
Jeremiah Johnson, Muskego Norway School District. Yeah, we ended up having interest earnings that we were able to dedicate towards repairing the lots. After years of construction, the lots were in pretty well disrepair.
And most likely, I'm guessing you wouldn't have, if we would have required the center, you probably wouldn't have, it wouldn't have fit in your budget.
Correct.
So then you would have just left what we have. So we have an improvement over it. We still have the outside curbing. That one I have less of an issue with. This one kind of gnaws at me a little bit, but. So what do we need to clean up on it?
If I'm hearing right, that it's kind of acknowledging where it's at and learn from this, then you just approve it as it's written.
All right.
Can we say though, it's just this instance only, so that there's nothing can carry over from, the original comment of the brick needs to be
Yeah, I mean, that
natural.
approval was very specifically to that district office, and,
Okay, good.
and we are all in agreement, the big additions to the school do match very well.
Yeah.
So
The minutes of the meeting will reflect our
Yeah.
displeasure with this. So, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, resolution, PC 049, 2024, approval of building site and operation plan amendment for Citizens Bank located at South 75 West 7358 Janesville Road, tax key number 2193-088001.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion, Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'll wrap up with a pretty easy one here. Citizens Bank, as you know, is building their new building in Muskego here. I noticed the other day that the walls were starting to go up, so it's kind of cool to actually seeing it.
It's not done already, and they're asking for a change, is it? No.
Yeah, no. It's like I said, an easy one, right? Yeah. No.
Simple.
Ahead of the game. So this one, it's really just a color change. Not a big deal. It's kind of teetering. I should plan commission see it, but one thing, you don't want to, once again, ask for forgiveness. Let's go up front and ask for approval. So they were humble enough to come forward and ask for this request ahead of time. And yeah, it's basically changing a color. And we were aware before that Citizens Bank as a bank was looking at redoing some color schemes, and I did know that there was some chance some colors would change, and they did kind of change their colors. So where before they were always showing a type of, I don't know, the reddish burgundy, whatever color you want to use, was kind of their trademark color, and now they're showing a deep purple, I think is what it's listed as. So it'll just kind of be an accent color. It's not like they're going to have the whole building colored that way, but just certain accent panels, some trim colors, some overhang colors. There's some areas by the drive-through that they're going to redo and have their new logo on there, because there's a new logo also being shown. So minor change. The building stays the same. It's really just changing from a red to a purple color, as that's their new corporate color. Pretty simple. And staff doesn't have any issues with it. We just wanted the Plan Commission to be aware.
Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you. Sorry for
Motion to
your extension.
Any miscellaneous business? Hearing none. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 7:26. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for waiting.